to On the Rocks with Dan and Steph. I'm Daniel.
I'm Stefan.
And we are your hosts for this lovely podcast. Today, our topics are going to be covering all the red tape that surrounds the world of alcohol. We're also going to talk about Stefan's entry into the business and how that's going, and all the insider knowledge he's gained that he'll share with you. Is that right?
That's right, Daniel. Thank you.
We're going to jump straight into it. This idea came about, as you may have guessed, in a bar. And we were chilling in our local bar and, having a beer. And Stefan was like,
Yeah, so I just came to the realization that, there's, because I'm Serbian, and I realized that market was completely unaccounted for in Ontario's beer supply.
Right.
You go to the LCBO and there's, you have German beer, you have Polish beer, you have beer from China, I think like what Tsingtao. So, and I just got to thinking, well, why not have, import Serbian beer? And so I did a lot of research and I realized that while it's technically feasible to import beer from, say, Serbia, for example, or, Lebanon or whatever country you have in mind, there is a lot of red tape that comes into play, and it's very difficult to actually convince the manufacturers that it's profitable. It's going to be profitable for them, and that it's going to, be a good thing for them to import to Ontario because of all this red tape.
Right.
And so the reason for that is because, first you can't directly import as a private citizen, right? Everything has to go through the LCBO.
So the actual importation process goes through LCBO, not just the sales.
That's right. So
oh my God,
this goes back to prohibition. And, people don't realize this, but we actually had prohibition in Canada as well.
Right, it's not talked about very much.
No, it's not talked about very much. We had it in the 20s and 30s, and basically the government was like, okay, we'll let you be able to legally drink alcohol again, but in exchange, we have to have a monopoly.
That happened in Canada.
The U.S., not at all.
So in Canada, prohibition ended with the Canadian government trying to basically monopolize the market.
Right.
What was the first step you took? Well, I assume you probably Googled something.
That was exactly my first
What was your
step.
Google search?
How to import alcohol into Ontario, because it doesn't work on the federal level. Each province has its own sort of liquor control board.
Okay.
And so essentially what I discovered, I went down a very deep rabbit hole. This was earlier this year. There's about, maybe 2,000 people in Ontario who work in like this very specific niche of importing alcohol. Who are called authorized representatives or agents of record.
Okay, so that's what you need to become.
Yes, and so essentially what happens is in order to become an agent of record, you need to, first of all, you need to have your smart serve.
It all begins with the smart survey.
It sure does. Now, after you get your smart serve, you obviously, stuff that goes into, by the way, the company that I set up is called Beverage Import Group.
BIG.
And it's
Not the notorious kind, though. The law-abiding BIG.
Well, give it some time. We may become notorious one day, but let's hope not.
Yeah.
Now, if your interlocutor, if the person you seek to do business with is on a different continent, for example, in Europe,
right,
you're probably not going to be calling them. You're going to be emailing them first.
And you've done that.
And I've done that with about 15 manufacturers. And the reason you want to approach manufacturers first as opposed to the LCBO is because the LCBO doesn't actually want to talk to you unless you have something called a manufacturer's authorization.
Is that the manufacturer allowing you to sell their product?
Precisely.
Right. And so the LCBO sees that you have that, and that means there's something going already. They have a reason to talk to you.
That's right. Now, you can have that authorization, and the LCBO could still decide, you know what, we don't think this product is a good fit for our stores.
Right.
Once they give you the authorization, then you go to the LCBO and you say, okay, I have this authorization. Would you like to do business with us? And if they say yes, then the manufacturer sends you samples of their product. And you go about carrying one of those refrigerated backpacks.
Right.
You go from store to store and you pitch it to them. You establish rapport with the manager there, and then the decision comes down to the individual manager, assuming the LCBO wants to do business with you in the first place.
So what if they say yes?
Well, like I said, so they say yes, fantastic. You go back to your manufacturer and you tell them. They said yes. However, the manufacturer doesn't get to decide how much beer they're going to export to Ontario.
The government gets to decide.
The government gets to decide based on the perceived needs of the LCBO, how much they think they're going to be able to sell. That's another thing that throws manufacturers off, because they look at their profit margin and they think, okay, well, we're not going to make a profit unless we sell, okay, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number, around 500 cases of beer a month. But the LCBO comes back and they're like, okay, well, we're only going to buy 200 from you each month. And I tell that to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer says, yeah, well, it doesn't make sense for us to do business in Ontario. It can be difficult, especially if you're a young entrepreneur and you want to get into the industry. You do face a lot of hurdles, a lot of challenges. And is the government currently doing anything to address that, to make it easier for entrepreneurs to sort of, get into the business, to expand? Not really.
The step you're on so far, I'm assuming you're still at the pitching phase.
I'm at the pitching phase. That's absolutely correct.
Have you gotten any samples yet from any beer manufacturer? Or are you still trying to work out the link with a beer supplier?
Well, the thing is, as I said, like when I lay out the way the regulations are in Ontario, a lot of manufacturers become skittish. Once you start describing the steps to potential manufacturers, to potential business partners, they start doing the math in their head and they decide, yeah, for a few hundred cases of, say, beer or 50 cases of wine a month, are we really going to turn that much of a profit? And maybe they turn a profit of say $7,000-8,000 a month. For a large manufacturer like say Heineken Serbia or Carlsberg Serbia, which are subsidiaries of those companies, does that really make sense for them if their profits are in the hundreds of millions or billions a year?
So listen to this. This is very interesting. Who owns the beer store? This is according to the Globe and Mail, by the way. 3 big foreign-controlled brewing corporation. Anheuser-Busch, which is based out of Belgium and Brazil, owns a bit less than half of the beer store. So does Molson Coors Brewing Co., incorporated in the United States. Sapporo Brewers Limited of Japan owns the other small share. Any other breweries who want to sell in the beer store have to pay fees to the owners. A lot of Ontarians are surprised by this. Polls have consistently shown that most of the residents of the province assume that the beer store is owned by the government, like the LCBO. So that's a little unfortunate, of course. Hopefully there's good change in regards to that here in the future. And I mean, at least we made some progress, I'd have to say.
Under the Ford administration we have, obviously it could be a lot better, but we've been hearing that he's going to do this and that for the industry for the last 6 years, and not a whole lot has been done. What has been done is encouraging, but there's still a long ways to go.
Right. All right. Well, that was a very productive conversation, and we did cover a lot of topics for our pilot episode.
Sure did.
So thank you very much for listening, everybody. My name is Daniel.
My name is Stefan.
And you just listened to an episode of On the Rocks. Thank you.